Hi, this is Dorothy Smith. I'm a close to my heart independent consultant, and today I'm showing you Yesterday and Today, Project 3. So, this is a very detailed, dark uh, layout, and I am putting it together. Now, if I was just going to do this for myself, I may have done some changes, but I am showing you how it goes together from the instructions. You can make a change. You can make any changes you want to these kits. You don't have to follow things, but if you do like to follow, then that's what I am showing you. Okay, so I'm popping out all of the frames that go on the one of the pages, and it's an outside frame and like I said, there's a lot of detail to this particular project. I mean, the other projects that made roses and stuff, I mean, that was a lot of detail. This one's even more, and for transparency's sake, it took me an hour and a half to put this kit together. So I speeded up my play, obviously, to 225 so that you wouldn't have to sit for an hour and a half to go through this. Anyway, it's a lot of work. And all those little circles there, those are going to be kind of like, I don't know if I would call them flowers, but they're just embellishments. Those are all going to get distressed with toffee. So I really like that phrase, I am because they were. I mean, that just kind of, you didn't pop out of nowhere. There were people before you. So that's always good it's kind of a humbling reminder of where each of us stands. We all stand on the shoulders of so many others before us. So I like those little things I'm popping out. They look like a bikini top. Just know the first time I put it together, I screwed it up. It's a bow, so you want to stick both of those pieces together. When I first did it, I was like, I don't really like seeing the inside of the paper and just seeing the white. Well, you weren't supposed to. So remember to stick those two together when it comes to making that bow. Now, so I lied. I did make some changes. So all those little round things are kind of metallic looking embellishments. And they kind of reminded me of some really old embellishments from a long time ago. And I went in my, somewhat newly organized office and pulled out the little container that contains all of the metallic embellishments. And, some of them really went well. So I pulled out the metallic and the bronze embellishments. Okay, so this is an already pre-distressed die cut. And I did cut the two backgrounds there prior to doing this layout. So they have the majority of the text is upside down on the layout. And that bothers me. It makes me think I did something wrong. So I am distressing the corners to look like the other corners. And I'm just kind of going all the way down. It's not like I'm covering up anything of importance here. And so I'm just kind of using my little brush. And, so I kind of see that one thing about this brush is it picks up ink and it kind of lays it down right off the bat. So you may want to dab your little brush before. The sponge doesn't do that so much. So, you can go back to using your sponge if you want. Now, the right-hand piece there, so that's kind of the title to the page, but there's an empty spot below it. Well, that's going to be for journaling. So you could put some lines that are 1/4 of an inch apart down there so you remember to do your journaling. And I'm just picking out what I think is what's supposed to go there. So these are some little leaves. There's a lot of distressing going on with this. Some of the pieces were already distressed, and other pieces were not distressed. So they all of them look old, but not necessarily distressed. So it did take, it takes more time when you do distressing. I mean, I really like the way it looks, but it takes time. So just remember that and enjoy the distressing. It's kind of very zen. It's relaxing. It's you're quickly making a change to an image. So enjoy it. Enjoy the journey here. Now, I didn't pick out the metallic pieces right off the bat. The more I looked at these die cuts, the more I started thinking about the older embellishments that I had. So, when I pulled them out, what I found was they were brads. And so we haven't used brads really for a very long time. So had I thought about this earlier, those stars would have gotten these brads that are a perfect center to those stars. So unfortunately, just didn't think about that until all these things were already stuck down. So this is the little ribbon that is holding the bow. So it's going to just kind of get stuck up there towards the center of that background piece. And I'm putting the oval on first so I can kind of see where to put the bow. So you see, you want to kind of get your oval in place, decide, exactly how you like it to look, and then adjust your little ribbon accordingly. Hi, sorry about that. My son just called. So this is where you want to distress both of these bikini tops and stick them together instead of, and then you will fold them like that. So see how it makes this cute little bow, but that little strip is the tie around the bow. And I just have to go back and take this apart and put the second one on there so that both sides of the ribbon of the bow are, so that the inside isn't showing white. I don't know how to describe that. So anyway, that's one place where I goofed. And I will have to say, it's always good to read the instructions first instead of just thinking you don't need to. Because there's a couple of things that I did that would have been smarter if I had read the instructions. So anyway, here we go. And that funny little piece, that little horseshoe piece, is the hanging ribbons. Very cute, right? Not bad for a paper bow. And I'm using glue dots to put it on there. So it really came out cute. But see how you can kind of see that white sticking through. So now I'm just sorting these circles. And these are circles with 4 or 5 slits cut in them. Not all the way to the center. Just enough so you can kind of crumple them up and make kind of a petal looking thing. So I'm just kind of putting all the small ones, medium ones, and large ones together. And actually you'll be making like 6 of these. So you could do layers of 3, or I did 2 on the first one and then 3 on the second one. And I thought that each one would get, different sizes, but actually it gets 2 of the same size. So like the large one will take the 2 large circles. Now you could make flowers yourself, whatever size. flower, if you want to call this a flower, similar to this. And just by either using, your 1-inch circle cutter or make some circles on your Cricut so they could be whatever size you wanted them to be. And this is another place where reading the instructions would have been smart. So I'm just kind of crumpling them up. But mine are not looking near as distressed as what they're showing in the picture. And so I read the instructions, and lo and behold, they tell you to distress first, then spray lightly with water, and then crumble up the circles in bows. I mean, in balls, and then uncrumple them and let them and flatten them out and let them sit and dry out. So I went and got my little water spritzer. So this is like a cute little sprayer that we have. And I think that, don't be afraid of using the water on them because, for one thing, the paper is pretty strong. And so it's just going to allow the paper to just be more distressed looking, more aged looking. So I'm going to ball these up and then unravel them and set them aside to dry a little bit. And I'm using my all-purpose mat, which is great for inking or using texture paste, which I haven't used the texture paste in a while, and for any kind of icky projects. So everything wipes off of it super, super nicely, super easily. And so I'm just kind of putting them together to see what they're going to look like. So I'll set that aside and they can dry a little bit. I tried to, use some stick them to glue them when they're wet. That doesn't work, just so you know. So this is where I kind of look at the, instructions and realize that, there's not going to be a bow on the other one. So I need to undo and redo. Maybe it wouldn't have taken me an hour and a half if I read the instructions first. So, not a big deal. You can always make do. And so this way, the bow is going to be the same on both sides. So you're not going to have areas of bright white sticking out. And I've just tried to darken the edges a little bit where it just didn't work perfectly. So, you can never have too much distressing, can you? Okay, so now I'm going to do the whole gluing thing again. And now I've got a fatter bow. You want to have a really strong glue for the bow. I used Tombow. That's really not quite strong enough. You may want to use liquid glass to keep the bow together because there's a lot of, it takes a lot of oomph to keep all that paper together. So I'm trying to use glue dots on the kind of damp, and they totally don't stick, except to me. They stick real well to me. And I keep on trying. Nope. Now it's pulling the paper off, so now it's time to stop. So I'm going to use my liquid glass. Liquid glass is a good glue for this project because there's a lot of stuff going on with this project. There's a lot of layers, a lot of pieces, and it gets a little bit thick, and so it's kind of a good glue to use for this. So like these are really ancient. I mean, years and years and years old, but they're absolutely beautiful. So they're a really dark, glittery gem concoction there. And, it was just kind of nice to have the really dark embellishments that, I probably, I mean, honestly, these things are probably at least 10 or more years old. And, but they're gorgeous. And I was really glad that I had found them. And so you can't compare something like that to the paper. These kind of just jump right out at you. And there's some little, I don't know what to call it. They're kind of like tack heads. See, it's like what would be on a chair or something. Those kind of heads. Anyway. Elizabeth Shore. Whoops, I'm having phone problems. Okay, excuse me. Another phone call. So these are some more older. These were found in my bronze container, and they have some brownish. There's some more filigree type metal brads, and look at these. See, these are perfect for that. But I didn't figure out a way of removing the brad piece to stick them on there. I could still work on that and try to figure it out. I did it for the next one though. Anyway, it's kind of a good time to go through old embellishments and see, are there some old embellishments that I could get rid of that that I could use, instead of the paper embellishments. Anyway, just a thought. Don't have to, because the paper, keeps everything flatter. But anywho, I'm just kind of looking for the various little pieces that go here and there. So that is one of the little wooden stars. They didn't color theirs in the instructions, but since we've colored them for the previous ones, I do like the way that kind of mahogany look adds to the browns. So I'm putting, like I said, liquid glass is a good one for this, and I had to, because sometimes I forget to put my cap on my liquid glass, and so a couple of times I've had to use that welding tool that clears out superfine pipes, and I have used that. That has been a really good buy for me. I got it at Home Depot in the welding area, and it's just a little thing that kind of opens up like a Swiss Army knife and has all these little fine kind of thin files. They're not flat, they're round, but they're bumpy, so they can kind of take out what's on the inside of tubes. So that has cleared out my liquid glass several times because I keep on forgetting to put the cap on. What is the matter with me? Close the door behind you. Okay, so that's page 1, and now we're on page 2. And so once again, this is a zip strip that's going down, and then I'm going to bump up the background paper to the edge of the zip strip. And I'm just kind of centering it in between, so it's generally, about a half inch or so on each side. So these are the frames. And, so what I would suggest is to get out your 4x6 paper holder and then glue that. See, that one gets glued onto that little piece. And this one just kind of outlines that whole thing. So that can go there, and that's a 3x3. So I would get your 3x3 piece and then glue the frame onto the 3x3 and the 4x6 to the left. And that one down at the bottom is like for a 3x4, but it's actually bigger than that. So I ended up cutting a piece of French vanilla, and maybe I missed cutting it in the instructions, but I went ahead and cut a like a 3.5 by 4.5 piece so I could glue the frame onto it. And then I've been cutting off the extra corners so that you get the rounded, the internal rounded corner. So now this is a, you know, some journaling could go there, some journaling could go on the one in the upper right-hand corner. So I kind of struggle with, I have to say I struggled with, see, I had a piece that was close, but it didn't cover it completely. You know, so it wasn't something I could, you know, really stick the frame onto. It wasn't quite big enough. Now, this is where I figure out, okay, the thing to do is to cut off, to get a 4x6 photo mount. You know, you could actually use a piece of 4x6 vanilla, one or the other. And you want to stick it on there, so it's just easier to, it's kind of easier to deal with. But looks like it. See if now I'm lifting it up, so I'm doing it the right way. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Now she's got it. I'm putting the picture mount down, and then I put that over there. And then I'll be cutting off those corners. So, you know, I personally like the photo mounts because it's a reminder of what goes there. And you don't have to use them if you don't want to. But, you know, it kind of gives me, I can quickly see, okay, I need a vertical 4x6, or I need a 3x3, or a horizontal 3x4. So it's a real quick reminder of what you need. And I'm just cutting these off by kind of going under there and cutting the corner off. So it's just, and if a little bit of background shows, it's not a big deal because your 4x6 picture will go there. So no big deal. But it made putting the frame down easier, and that was the bottom line. So see, even the 3x4 is just not quite big enough. So I was thinking that, which wasn't good thinking. So I will eventually cut out a piece that's 3.5 by 4.5 of vanilla cardstock to kind of go on there, because it's just not quite working. See, sometimes I struggle too much with things, and I need to just suck up and do something different. Now, what you could do, and it doesn't really make a difference, I could have just stuck that down there in the corner and then put the frame over it. No, you know, and the 3x4 would have covered, and if a little background shows through, who cares? It's fine. It's just fine. So now I'm putting this piece, and that's a journaling piece, there. Now, once again, if you want to put lines on there, you know, put them like 1/4 of an inch apart. Use your journaling pen and put them 1/4 of an inch apart, and that gives you enough space to write, you know, and put down your thoughts of the pictures. So there we go. I'm surprised that one wasn't a little bit bigger to accommodate the frame, but it had to do with the die cuts, I guess. Excuse me. So this is going to be the 3x3. So I'm looking for a 3x3 picture holder. If I zoomed out and you saw the mess that, you see a mess right here, but if you saw the mess all around my working area, you go, can't believe she can find anything at all. And I pulled a little bit of the paper off there, so I'm going to put some ink on it and maybe put an embellishment on top of it. So looking for stuff. Okay, it would be nice if I remembered to put the bread on this. We'll see. Okay, so I'm putting a hole in the middle. That's promising. And it's so weird to use brads. It's been so long since we've used brads. But it worked out really nice for this particular star. I mean, it was the perfect inside embellishment for that star. So I was really happy that I actually went looking and could find that particular, because that is the exact embellishment that I had in mind. And, you know, it was kind of like, okay, see, now I'm getting smart. It takes me a while. But I was glad I could go when I thought about it, I thought, okay, I know exactly where to go. And I went to my box that has the metal embellishments. Or one of them is like bronze embellishments too. So I was happy. It doesn't take much to make me happy. Sometimes it does. Anyway, so now I'm just cutting off. So I cut that 3.5 by 4.5 vanilla piece for that. Sort of a mat. And I'm just gonna, cut off the little bit of extra and just darken the edges so that they don't stick out. And then I'll put a 3 by 4 there, although I don't have to. So I'm just cutting the corners off for my reminder. And that's going to go down there in the corner. And then the center frame is going to get popped up, so I can slip stuff underneath the that particular frame, so that there'll be pictures that kind of scooch under there. And so I'm going to pop it up so I have some room for scooching. And I'm kind of looking for. I wasn't really sure about the whole key thing, because maybe I used a key that I wasn't supposed to use on one of the other layouts. But, you don't really need 2 keys on one thing. So I'm taking the key and I'm coloring it. God, don't you just love the way that wood picks up the color? Kind of makes me want to paint everything that's wood. So I'm going to hang that key. That's actually going to go in the upper corner. And I've got a couple of key stickers that I'm going to get one of them. Actually, that goes underneath. Well, maybe not so underneath. So there's corners. It's showing, I believe, 4 corners. One goes on one thing and a couple on another. So there aren't any corners that fit the particular things that I have. So I am going to there's the four corners that are going to get tinted again. So we've consistently used toffee and espresso and this earth blend marker, and for this whole project. So I was really happy the way they look. Okay, so this is the welding thing I was telling, and I forget what it's called, but it's some kind of a tool that you find in welding at Home Depot. And see how it's got all different size wires that actually go in there and clean out the little spout, and then poof, everything works beautifully. So, you know, that tool cost me $4, and that is so, so worth it than having unusable, you know, keep on having to get fresh caps for the liquid glass. So, if you haven't gotten one of those tools, see, and now I'm darkening. I decided that I wanted a darker key. And so I'm just using the darker end of, I use the light end first, and this is the darker end. And, you know, actually, I like that dark key. I like that a lot. Okay, so here we go with our little circles. I don't really know what to call those. But once again, remember that like the ones I'm holding right now, that's probably from an inch, about an inch. And so, you know, probably most of you have inch size punches that you can take and make circles out of in all different colors, put 4 slits in it, and then, you know, wet them down, crumble them up, and make little dimensional elements that will still flatten out because they're paper. So that's kind of a neat embellishment to make that's kind of striking. But it doesn't have the depth to it that the rose did from the first layout. So the roses are pretty deep. I mean, I have to say they're probably over a half an inch thick. So this is a, you know, rose-like element that can squish out flat when you come to the putting it in the page protector. And so instead of coloring the little wood, I'm just going to use those little, I don't know what to call those, tack heads? Anyway, they're kind of octagonish in their flat surfaces, but raised. So these are, I'm pulling these off of the metallic complement sheet, and I like those. And there's a key on there. There's a couple of keys on there. And that one would have been fine if I wasn't somewhat crazy. But so what I'm going to do with this key is heavily distress the edges so that white doesn't stick out so much. I'm not sure. I think that's what they did on the original page. It was kind of hard to tell. So I'm going to use another one of those heads to put there to kind of hold the thing in place. So at this point, I kind of decided, well, let's just go on with it. Here we go. So this is kind of fun. So I get my little spray tool. I haven't used my spray tool in a while. And I'll make the little balls. I'm hoping we still carry that. The all-purpose mat, close to my heart product, great product, super great for cleanup, super great for this where I could just spray directly on it and not get, you know, water all over the place. And then just let it set aside and dry out. So I'm crumbling everything up, and this time I made them into smaller balls. Those are pretty small balls there. And so I was kind of worried about uncrumpling them and getting them, you know, ripping them up. But I think I just sprayed enough. I got a fine enough mist from that little mister to not soak them so that the paper falls apart. So I'm just pulling these apart, and that one went a real small ball. So these are going to be a little bit thicker. So I'm going to do layers of 3 on this page, because I had quite a few left, and I thought, well, what was I supposed to do here? Was I supposed to make them all 3 layers thick? I probably was. So I'm going to get a 3x4 card paper photo holder and trim around it, put the little oval on there, and then raise it up from the other mats, the other frames. Oh, I didn't use a photo holder. I just used a French vanilla, which is even better. Sorry, I'm cutting it off camera. No good reason, except silliness. Yeah, that looks pretty. And I'm just going to place these here and there so I can, slip the pictures underneath. And there's a little bit of room. Excuse me. For the pictures to slip under. My throat got dry. Okay, there we go. Now I'm just going to add a little bit of distressing. Trying to think of what to do. I don't know if I'm looking for, oh, I know. So I found some pearls that were already tinted in tans and dark browns. And so I decided to use some of those. Because, they're almost used up. I mean, I would just as soon get rid of them, use them up, and you can always use white pearls and color them whatever color you want. But these were already tinted, and they were the perfect color. And these are from quite a long time ago, too. So, I mean, I had some fun using some of my older embellishments. I almost don't do that. I'm always using the newer embellishments, but I really like being able to use some of these older things. So I'm just going to do 3 layers, and once again, liquid glass them. And put them in a little stack of pancakes. And this one I did a large, I just had 1 large one left, and then 2 medium ones. And so, and I kind of like the way that looks. Yeah, I really like the way that looks. So I've got a medium, and a small. And then the small one. And I'm going to put, God, I really love those. I don't think you can appreciate how really beautiful those embellishments are. They were a really, really pretty embellishment. So what I'm doing is trying to squish the little bit of excess of liquid glue that gets caught at the tip, which blocks things up. And so I'm trying to remember to clear it out and put the top in. Yay, she remembered. Good girl. Okay, putting my toffee and my espresso away and kind of clearing the stage here. I think I'm finished. I think it's finished. Put all the little embellishments away, extra photo holders, and there we go. So we've got, this was pretty busy, pretty complicated, but it'll be beautiful for any antique photos you've got. Please remember to subscribe to my channel and ring the bell, and I hope you enjoy my videos. Let me know, send me a comment, tell me what you'd like to see. Thanks for showing up. Bye now. There we go. Now, those are all of our 3 projects from yesterday and today. They're really beautiful. Thank you. Bye now.